I'm interviewing the marketing manager of Argus Farm Stop today, which is a 7-day-a-week farmers market that's stocked with exclusively local products. Farmers choose their own prices. They get 70% of that price by selling through Argus Farm Stop. And by giving farmers a 7-day-a-week sales channel, they're helping small to medium farms stay in business. You'll learn how they find their customers, how they keep them coming back for more. So many good marketing lessons in here. Let's get started. Hey there, this is Corinna Bench, and welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast. In today's market, it's not enough to just grow your product. You've got to know how to sell it too. Welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast, where we reveal online marketing strategies and tips to help farmers like you get better and more confident at marketing. Learn how to find more customers, increase your sales, and build a strong brand for your farm. Let's start the show. Well, welcome to episode 317 of the My Digital Farmer podcast. I am your host, Corinna Bench, one of the farmers at Shared Legacy Farms in Elmore, Ohio. I'm also the founder of mydigitalfarmer.com, which is all about trying to help other farmers like you get more confident in your marketing and sales strategy so that you can grow a profitable business. How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to the show. A big shout out to all of my regular binge listeners. If you are new to the podcast, thanks for checking me out. I hope you enjoy today. We have a really great interview lined up. Make sure you subscribe to the show. And if you're new to the marketing space and you want to learn some of the lingo and the framework for it, go check out my first 10 episodes. They really were designed long ago to be an on-ramp into the marketing space. Another place to go is just to get onto my email list, because when you do, I'm going to send you an email about every 5 days for 3 months that's going to walk you through the jungle. It's going to show you the key things you need to know, the tools you need to have in your toolkit, the people you need to be following. In some cases, I give you some templates and freebies. It's really good. So you can subscribe by going to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe, and that'll start right away. Today's episode is sponsored by my friends at Local Line. If you're like me, winter is your downtime to plan and prep for the upcoming growing season. Set yourself up for success with Local Line, the best sales platform built for farms. Local Line is the most comprehensive software for farmers and food hubs that's out there, selling direct to restaurants, schools, wholesale buyers, running a CSA, and more. With features like e-commerce, automated inventory management, they have subscriptions, a box builder, point of sale, and more. Local Line helps you grow sales. It saves you time and streamlines your operations. In fact, on average, this is cool, farms that use Local Line grow sales by 23%, and they increase their average order size by 9.5% annually. So, ready to switch to sales software that does it all? Local Line has no setup fees, no sales percentages, and your onboarding manager will migrate your storefront for free, so you'll be up and running in no time. As a podcast listener, Local Line is also offering a free premium feature for 1 year with your subscription when you use my coupon code MDF2025. So to claim it, go to mydigitalfarmer.com/Local Line and then enter that coupon code MDF2025. Don't wait. Start your season strong with Local Line today. And now back to the show. All right, today we're jumping right into it because I am interviewing a guest for the show, and this was another strong interview with so much good stuff that I struggled to cut things to keep it under an hour. So I want to make sure I keep my introduction here short. This particular person, the way that I met him is really cool. I felt like it was a divine appointment. Kurt and I went on a trip last January, February. I'm losing track now of when it was, but we did a trip to Colorado, just the two of us, to celebrate my healing. And we stayed in an Airbnb and we hiked a bunch of mountains in the Colorado Rockies, had an amazing experience. But on our trip out there, we got onto the plane and the guy who sat next to me in the back of the plane is today's guest. This is how I met Alex. And the funny thing is the conversation starter was my sweatshirt. I was wearing a Local Line sweatshirt, and he asked me if I had Local Line, and or if I worked there or something. I forget. And I told him that I was a farmer and that we used their platform. And so he was like, so do I. And then saw that my husband was wearing some kind of a hat that identified him as a farmer. I forget what the brand was, but that led to a opening conversation. He sat down next to me and we spent the next 2.5, 3 hours on this flight to Colorado Springs talking the whole way. And it made the flight so fun. And then to find out that he is the director of marketing at Argus Farm Stop in Ann Arbor, which is like, an hour and 15 minutes away from where I live. It was so cool. I thoroughly enjoyed geeking out about marketing with him. We talked a long time. He was also very enthusiastic. It's hard to find people who are excited about talking about marketing, right? And so I told him at the end, I'm like, hey, so I have this podcast and I would love to invite you on and like meet up with you again and have you share all this stuff you just shared with me with my listeners, because I think it's a really neat model and I'd love to introduce people to it. And he said yes. So you are getting to meet my friend Alex, and the conversation goes in a lot of different directions. And I think it's really valuable if you are any kind of producer to kind of learn how this model works. I want you to listen to the farm stop model, and if this is something that you want to try developing in your region. But it's actually, I think, even more helpful to think about what is he doing in the way of marketing for this kind of a marketing model. What does he have to do in order to attract his ideal customer? And what are the things that he really prioritizes? Because they're kind of like a Trader Joe's is sort of how I would equate them, but they only have a couple of stores. But it's that sort of feel. And what are the unique challenges that this kind of an organization or this kind of a business has to face when it comes to marketing? And what can we learn from that? Like, how can we take some of his approaches and apply them to our own business? I think it's a really good conversation. You're going to love it. So let me read his bio and we'll dive right in. My guest is Alex Blume, and he is the marketing manager for Argus Farm Stop, a 7-day-a-week market stocked exclusively with products from local farmers and producers. Alex has been leading the marketing team there for about 2 years now. Before that, he worked on the Whitney Farmstead, which is a regenerative ranching and maple sugaring farm in Ann Arbor. And Alex actually comes originally from my home state, from Dallas, Texas, where he worked in the local music industry as a promoter after he received a double major in music and marketing at Southern Methodist University. In his work, Alex tries to increase the reach and accessibility of local produce and products that strengthen the community around us to a wider and more diverse audience. Please join me in welcoming Alex Blume to the show. Well, Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Corinna. I'm so happy to be here.
This has been a long time coming since we first met on the airplane heading out to Colorado. And it's just so bizarre how the stars align. We randomly sit next to each other. We find out you're like, hey, do you work at Local Line? Or do you use Local Line?
Yeah.
Because I'm wearing my Local Line sweatshirt. And then all of a sudden we realized that we're both in the farming space. So that was really neat. Start out by just introducing yourself to my audience. Tell me a little bit about yourself, how we met, about Argus Farm Stop, where you work and your role there, wherever you want to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Alex Blume. I'm the marketing manager for Argus Farm Stop. Argus Farm Stop is the farm stop model is taking the farmers market of, a high educational, high revenue space exclusively for local farms and turning that into something that's a little bit more convenient, like a grocery store, of having a 7-day-a-week market that's more of a one-stop shop than a farmers market, having a single checkout line, having pretty much how do we make it easier for local farms to sell their goods in today's day and age. And how do we have a place you can go and buy exclusively from local producers, even if you woke up late on Saturday or weren't able to get to the farmers market on that day. There's many different ways that farmers can sell their products, and a lot of them have shifted towards larger farms, more industrial agriculture, and small and medium-sized farms have really lost their ability to start and can maintain business. And so Argus Farm Stop looks to change that and help grow the local food economy of Southeast Michigan, and as well as teach people how to grow that local food economy around the nation. Personally, I've been working for Argus Farm Stop since 2022, and I've been leading our marketing team going on this second year now. And we met so serendipitously. I was on a plane ride out to Colorado to go skiing with my friend, and we just had our Farm Stop conference, which we can get into a little bit later. And I saw you walking down the row with a Local Line shirt, and I was like, well, we use Local Line all the time with all of our online sales. I know exactly what that is. Wow, this is cool. And I saw somebody behind you wearing a Real Organic Project hat, and I was like, wow, cool. There's two farmers. I would love to talk to them. And then you're like, can I sit next to you? And I was like, well, wow, this is ideal. So I was really excited about that.
You made the flight so much more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
It was either watching Gladiator 2 or
yeah. I usually, put my earbuds in and do something like that, but I was like, this is too great of an opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, it was super fun to talk to you. We talked the whole time, I think. I think there was maybe 30 minutes where we were in our own worlds. But okay, so you tell me how long Farm Stop's been around. I don't know if I saw that in your notes.
I don't know if so the Farm Stop model was originally we were originally inspired by a group called Local Roots in Worcester, Ohio. And so in 2014, we launched our first location on Liberty Street, which was an old gas station. If you ever come down, I always recommend coming to the Liberty store, just because you can see sort of from the ground up how it started. We do a lot in a very small amount of space there. And but yeah, so the Farm Stop model, we work on consignment, which instead of wholesale, I would say the vast majority, as you probably know, of like sales from farmers to consumers is probably going through a pretty big indirect wholesale chain. And on average, farmers are getting about 15 cents on the dollar for the produce that they're selling through those the traditional grocery channels. You have to, be able to provide an inventory that can satisfy these large brokers and distributors, and you have to pay their price. So Argus Farm Stop sort of has a foot in the door with our local farmers, where you bring us what you can provide, and we will put it on the deck, and you get 70% of the price that you decide. We're always in contact with our farmers on, what prices might be working and what might be recommended. Farmers are always sort of looking at the market and seeing what other people are selling for who might have similar growing practices. But yeah, that's sort of like the basis of what we tell everybody who comes in the door. When you buy this apple, this rutabaga, this romaine lettuce, these ramps, the farmer, the forager, whoever produced it is choosing the price, and they're getting 70% of that price. So pay $4, or $4 is a little tricky math, but you pay $1 for an apple, 70 cents is going right back to the farm. We only take 30% for the storage and the selling, and a lot of great services that we provide by having a 7-day-a-week farm, or farmers market rather.
So this was not on my list of questions for you, but this is making me think. If you decide, normally when you go to a store, there's always a section that's like, these are 2 for $5 today, or, or 20% off. Like, are they able to decide, I want my item to go on sale, or is there anybody in your operation that's making those kinds of calls?
Yeah, great question. In terms of pricing, like, I think that mission is really ingrained into all of our employees, and we do a good job of having like all employees sort of have an ability to make decisions once they understand the mission of helping the farmers. And so like, we don't do a lot of sales. I think that's something that could be interested in doing in other ways, but it's like, we, in terms of our mission, we would need to get in contact with the farmer.
Okay.
Sometimes that can be a pretty fast process. Sometimes it can be a longer process. Like, we definitely have some farmers where I'm like, if I ask them this, they might not get back to me for a couple of days. And there are some who, I know if I text them right now, they might tell me immediately. So I think it often comes from the farmer's side. We have dedicated produce managers at each location that do all of our ordering and a lot of communication with the farms. They're in great communication with them. But I would say most of probably any sales are usually coming from a farmer's desire to do so. Um, yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I'm just trying to merge this model of like a grocery store because you're probably essentially
Mhm.
functioning as a grocery store in some ways in terms of sourcing.
Yeah,
You've got to have a lot of volume of food, I imagine, moving through there, but you have a sense of how much you move of these items after a while. You see the patterns and you can kind of
yeah.
project out what it will do at that price. So
Definitely. And I
I was
think
just
something that's difficult in the marketing side for Argus Farm Stop, a lot of people come in the door and they ask for certain products that we don't have and we kind of never will have.
mhm,
The most common one, people come in and they ask for lemons, they ask for limes, they ask for
mm,
bananas. And it's like I had one yesterday where I was trying to answer this question. It's difficult because, we do a great job of customer service as well. And I really hate talking to somebody and telling them why we don't have lemons and limes in our mission. And sometimes it can come off as a little pretentious or
mhm,
snobby, but it's like we're trying to tell, like, we'll never have lemons and limes pretty much. And this is why, it's like because we're here to help grow the local food economy. So, like, what you see here, what I like about Argus Farm Style is what you see is a picture of current agriculture in Michigan. Like what you see is completely representative of what's going on in your community. So when we don't have an item, like somebody asked for tomatoes yesterday, and I said
yeah.
we're going to have the best tomatoes you can find in Michigan. Not yet. Come back
Yes.
in July through November. We're going to have great tomatoes.
Okay.
Um,
Well, in this conversation today, there's kind of two elements that we could cover, and I'm going to try to do both. We'll see how
yeah,
we do
yeah.
with the time, but there's the whole side like sourcing the food from the farms, managing
Mhm.
that operation, and I am actually really curious how that works. And then there's the
Yep,
marketing side. How do we target and market to consumers? Who are gonna value the way that you do this, right?
yep,
If somebody's listening today who's intrigued at, I want to build a farm, a farm stop model out in my neck of the woods, I know they'll be able to contact you and reach out. You do trainings for
yep,
that kind of thing all the time anyway. But let's actually start with the farmer side. I was going to do with
yep.
marketing first, but let's switch. I'm going to turn my page and
Sure.
go to that section of
Yeah, I think that's
questions.
a good way to segue. Like,
I mean, who are your typical farmers and how do you vet them?
mhm.
What do they have to be able to do to qualify to even work with you? And I imagine that like new farmers, once they find out about you, want to try and get in, but maybe there's I mean, like in the wholesale space, we're always trying to get into Whole Foods or whatever, and we're like,
Yep,
well, we already have our lettuce growers. We don't need any more. Like, so just how does
yep.
someone get into this space with you?
Yeah, great question. The simplest answer for it is that on our website we have a producer application, and we go through that and sort of vet mostly from like the perspective of is this something that we think would fit at Argus Farm Stop? Like, preferably, is it a Michigan producer, and are they growing in a way that supports the local food economy? Like, is their mission sort of transparent for us? And then after that, it would probably go down to do we think this product would do well in our store?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think from like producers, like farmers of produce and meat and eggs, they probably have a pretty easy time overall if they're growing in Michigan and they're growing with good practices. They probably have a pretty easy time getting at least a foot in the door with Argus Farm Stop. And then other products, outside of that would probably be more of a do we think this would move, and do we think this is on mission, do we have too much of this? We
Yeah.
already have, like, I think 3 or 4 producers of hot sauce,
Mhm.
and probably wouldn't be looking to take on another one. So yeah, we have that producer application. But starting out, what we often tell people is a farm stop works really well in a community that has a farmers market for a couple reasons. It has, excuse me, a dedicated a demonstrated demand. So there are customers who go to that farmers market, they buy from local farms, and it has a
Mhm.
demonstrated supply. It has farmers that are coming to the area. Oftentimes, Farm Stop works really well as like the farmers are coming in for the farmers market, they can swing by, drop off at the farm stop, and then they can go back to the farm. So they have sort of that direct sale with the farmers market, and then immediately dropping off more produce to be sold while they're not there. So we definitely looked at the Ann Arbor farmers market when we were starting out and had a lot of conversations with the farmers there about this model. Kathy, our owner, does a really good job of getting people on board and selling the mission, helping them understand it. And she just does a great job of talking to farmers. And that's a lot of what she did at the beginning, is just talking to farms and getting them on board with the model and getting them to trust us in
Mm-hmm.
terms of holding their product.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say most of the farmers at the farmers market are people who are also selling at Argus Farm Stop at the Ann Arbor Farmers Market. And then, it's a pretty small community as well. Like, farmers
Yeah.
talk to each other a lot, and we're always looking to find new farms. And a lot of people who will come work at Argus Farm Stop
Mm-hmm.
are often aspiring farmers. And so we build out that community and discuss with them and see what they're trying to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And we have yearly meetings with a lot of our larger farms who feel like that would be a good use of time, and sort of plan out how they're going to go about the year, what they're going to plant, what they're going to grow.
Right.
We've seen a lot of farmers go from, as this model is built out, an expansion of their farms because of Argus Farm Stop.
Yeah.
Last year we paid out over 26 million. I think actually, if you're including 2025 now, we're paid out over $28 million to local farms over 10 years. Money going immediately back to the Ann Arbor community at
Mhm.
large.
That's
And
amazing.
farmers are reinvesting that in themselves. 30% of our sales are happening from January to May, very cold months in Michigan. That's because farmers can now reinvest in themselves and have better root cellars,
Mm-hmm.
better, more, winter squash that they're
Mm-hmm.
growing and planting, and they can have that throughout those months. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're seeing the money that goes back to the farms through Argus Farm Stop is growing them. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
don't cannibalize the farmers market. I think we work in great conjunction with it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a networking place and that
Yeah.
working in conjunction with you. So does a farmer have to try out with you? I mean, is
Yeah.
there like a beta test period where you give something a try on a small scale to see how it does?
Not really. It's more of like a good communication and understanding. I think we have that with all of our producers, of sort of like, with the consignment model, we want them to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're in good communication with them. We have, I believe our payouts are happening twice a month. And so in those payouts, we're in great
Mm-hmm.
communication with the farmers of like what's going on with their product. If it's not moving, we can have discussions about what we can do about that. Is it a problem on our end? Do we need to do a better
Mm-hmm.
job of merchandising it? Can we market it a little bit better?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just not working? Is it just not moving?
Yeah.
And I think that's we're not really looking to like kick people out or anything like that. More so, just sort of trying to make sure that the space that's being used is being used well.
Yeah.
And so we don't have a trial period.
Okay.
I think we just decide to take somebody on, and when we do, we from that point on, it's a relationship, and we
Yeah.
will do what's best for them, and they do what they can to help serve Argus Farms up and having a good amount of products for the deck.
Yeah. Now, can a consumer tell which farm that product is coming from? Like, do you have signage at your store? I want to come see this place now. You're not
Yeah,
that far away.
yeah, definitely. I would love to have you down.
I'll make sure I do that this summer and we'll tell you when
Yeah,
we're coming. But
awesome.
is there signage to say this is from XYZ farm?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
cool.
That's a lot of what our marketing is doing, and like we want customers to understand who they are buying from, and there's different prices, and we have some producers who go the
Mm.
nth degree, and they have the organic certification, they maybe have the real organic project certification, they have multiple certifications, and they produce a
Oh,
really, really great product. And sometimes that stuff is going to be more expensive. And it might be right next, especially in the heat of season, to maybe a farm that's using more conventional practices.
okay, hold on.
And
So
yeah,
I'm trying to visualize what this looks like because all I can
yeah,
picture is, a one booth at the farmer's market or like going into a grocery store and
hmm
all you see is the arugula, in the clamshells and they're all the same. So
yeah,
you're saying that you've got an arugula section that might have three
yep,
different arugulas and they get to decide three different prices and they're just choosing.
yep, yeah. So it's
Interesting.
like
Okay.
Our produce managers have different organizations of the produce deck, and it looks pretty similar probably to the untrained eye of like a grocery store. But what you're going to find if you look closer is you're going to have, three different baskets of
Huh.
arugula. And each sign has, this one is Garden Fort from, it's going to say Dexter, Michigan. It'll have their logo and
Okay.
it'll have, arugula with their price.
Cool.
Most of the time, I'd say the products are pretty close in price, and we do everything we can to have like relevant certifications on there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes different producers. We
Okay.
have some producers who are more of they price their things more to move, and we have some producers who are pricing a little higher. And we try to be very transparent and help people understand the growing practices of why something might be more or less expensive. I'm trying to do that more recently when I'm talking to people about what we have in store and sort of say, like, when you see something that's expensive at Argus Farm Stop, it's like there's a reason for it, and we can
Yeah.
have a quick conversation about that. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
different bins, different baskets, different signs, and that's a lot of what we do is identifying that produce operationally.
This sounds like an amazing gig for a farmer. So like I'm
Yeah,
just imagining all the benefits.
yeah,
Please come to Toledo. No, but what are the risks for the farmer here? Like what's the downside?
yeah. For the farmer, in terms of downside, I guess what a lot of farmers would like to see, especially probably at bigger operations. I think this is a pretty
Mm.
good deal for farmers starting out. Is they don't have like a dedicated sale. Like if you're a farmer and you grow, let's say, 10 bushels of kale, and you bring it to Argus Farm Stop, we're not paying you for technically 10 bushels of kale. So and you're not going to get that money technically immediately. You will get it twice a month with the sales, but if something doesn't happen to move, it kind of just
Oh,
sits
so you
there.
don't get paid unless it moves.
That's true. Yeah. So like if
Ah, okay. So it's
it's
not
paid
like
by the
you're
sale.
buying it and now it's your liability to move it and sell it.
Yeah.
Got it. Which is
Yeah.
why you can't change the price.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense now. All right.
Yeah. Um, yeah.
Gotcha.
So they get paid based on the sale. So it's like
Okay.
a customer comes in and buys your product, you're getting paid 70% of that. So yeah, the risk is that, like, if you, let's say something sad were to happen with Argus Farm Stop, and like you bring a product and there's nobody buys your kale
Hmm.
or your hot sauce or whatever you're bringing us, then
Hmm.
we wouldn't have any money to give you. That
Yeah.
would be the
Okay.
downside.
Okay.
Um, uh, yeah, that I would say is the biggest downside, but it really
Yeah.
helps people grow a market. Like starting out farmers,
Hmm.
like people can find out about you, people can become
Hmm.
interested. And I mean, I think the 70% is a big part of that. It's like
Yeah.
those 10 bushels of kale. It's like you might be selling that immediately to a grocery store, but you'll be getting 15 cents on the dollar or some rate of that. Where at Argus Farm
Right.
Stop, maybe you get to sell, I wouldn't have the numbers on how much on average is selling. There are plenty of producers that we sell all of their product.
Hmm.
But even if you were to sell 7 of those 10 bushels at 70%, that's
Yeah.
probably going to be higher than all 10 at 15.
You said there was I read somewhere in some of the stuff you sent me in advance, like 250 producers that you
Yeah.
currently work with.
Mhm.
And are are most of those like small scale growers, or do you have some that are like just have are able to really do a lot of, acreage and just bring
Mhm.
in the large amounts for you?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers on like maybe like acreage, but I can tell you definitely like some of the sizes. I would say the vast majority of the farms that we're working with on a national and especially on a global scale would be considered small
Okay.
farms, probably medium at best. So of some of our bigger producers, I would say we've got Tantre Farm, Green Things Farm, maybe Norm Holtz Farm in Ida, Michigan might be considered one of our larger producers. I would also say Second Spring up in close to Traverse City.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Farm Marketing School. All right, farmer, let me ask you something. Is marketing your farm something you actually enjoy? Or does it feel like a constant struggle? If you are like most farmers that I talk to, you are wearing all the hats and marketing always seems to slip through the cracks. Can I get an amen? That's exactly why I created Farm Marketing School. It's an online membership designed to help farmers like you build a simple, repeatable marketing system that actually works. Inside, you'll get bite-sized, step-by-step projects that make marketing easier. Each month, you pick what to work on, like writing better sales emails or improving your website copy or setting up your online store. And I walk you through exactly how you should be doing it. And you're not doing this alone. Every month, we have a live Zoom meetup where you can ask me questions, meet other members of Farm Marketing School, get coaching, and hear what's working for other farmers. It's like having a farm marketing mentor in your back pocket. This isn't some long, overwhelming course. The projects are designed to be completed in under 30 days, so you're making steady progress without it taking over your life. So if you're ready to stop winging it and finally build a marketing system that brings in steady sales, come join Farm Marketing School today. Sign up for your first month and see what a difference it makes. Go to mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS to get started. And now back to the show. Now, how are you? You use Local Line. I found that out because of my sweatshirt on the plane.
Yeah.
How does a farmer who works with you have to have a Local Line account?
We have Argus Farm Stop uses Local Line, and we represent all of our farmers through that. So I don't know how many of our farms are actually using Local Line, but none of our farms selling through Argus Farm Stop, we're not linking. It's like, and the way that our operations work is we don't really want our producers changing their inventory because we sort of have it here. We've got a better idea, and we don't have a split inventory overall between what we have online and what's in store. Our inventories are more of our online team's estimation of what would be available for your sale online with what we have. Yeah. We used to do Shopify for subscriptions, but we've started doing Local Line for our subscriptions, which is a weekly produce box that goes all year round, as well as weekly flower subscription. We currently still have our Local Cuts Club, which is a monthly subscription for great local meat. That's still going through Shopify, but we would love to convert that to Local Line once we're able to have a monthly option there.
What are the features that you're using then with Local Line? You have multiple price lists, or you just have one?
We've got multiple price lists for our subscription. We used to only have one when we just had the grocery store.
Yeah.
But once we had our subscriptions, we found it best to have, different price lists there. So we have, I think, 3 price lists probably with our weekly flower subscription, grocery store, and produce box. I think that's accurate. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have the store credit feature? Do you use that at all?
We don't, but I would love to. I would really like to, especially building out. We were talking a little bit about sales earlier, like discounts. I think one thing that we'll probably get into this with the funnel, but talking a little bit about how people shop and what people are shopping for.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of consumers at large, not everyone, but at large in America, I think that the grocery receipt is the first place for us to be looking to cut costs, and I think people assume and think that Argus Farm Stop is an expensive place to shop. And, maybe on average, the receipt would be higher. There are some things that we are more expensive. There are some things that were less expensive. But how do we sort of communicate how we have this ability for people to try us out? I think through our mission, through operationally, our brain has sort of been like, oh, we can't change the price. It's the farmer and whatnot. And it's like, we've gotten to the point where it's like, we absolutely can, subsidize. And from Argus Farm Stop's point, get people in the door and things like that. So we haven't used store line credit, but I would really like to. That would be really good.
It's not that expensive. I don't know what it would be for your size. I don't know if that's, I want to say it's like $100 a year extra for it's something really reasonable for me, but we use it primarily just as a customer service tool. I don't take advantage of you give me money and I turn it into store credit. I could create a product like that, but for me, it's more like, hey, if I mess something up, I just go give them some money, or for my VIPs, it's a way to reward people for good behavior. Anyway, something to think about.
We have a really robust subscription with Local Line, so I feel like we might have that feature currently. But
Yeah. Well, let's switch over now to the marketing angle. Sure. I'm just so curious, in this kind of a model, all the things you have to think about. Let's just real quickly, I don't want to spend too long here because there's so many other things I want to do, but let's talk about your ideal customer. I have a sense that you really understand your shopper and
Mhm.
um, what do you know about them? What are they valuing? Why are they choosing Argus over something else? Especially because it sounds like you're a little more expensive. What are they primarily buying from you, if you even know that? Just what do you know about them?
Yeah. I think the ideal customer sort of is like a somewhat of a binary answer for me, where it's like I look at currently who our customer is, and who we've saturated and who we've satisfied, I think really well to this point. And I think, is often people who are older, like a lot of people I think, who are sort of uh 40, upwards to above 65. There's a lot of really great people in our community who are on the older generation, and
Hmm.
they do a really great job of connecting with local farms and having a place of community. I think somebody who is looking for
Hmm.
products that they like, produce that they, at the very least, when I buy this, I know it's kind of going to a good cause. It's like I
Hmm.
know I can see transparently where this is going. Um, in short, people who care about their food. And that comes through in like it's going to a good farmer. I trust this food. I'm excited about this food. I want to know more about it. Want to know more about where it comes from or how it's grown. Um, Maybe people who are even just looking for really great tasting things. I think that's something that I don't talk about enough, is like how fantastic
Yeah.
our food tastes, and how fresh and seasonal, and how the benefits of that, versus like asparagus or tomatoes or strawberries, especially coming from who knows where and grown who knows how, and how it's white in the middle and they're giant and they don't taste half as good as a local fresh strawberry in the short season that it's there. Um, Often people who have like a little bit of expendable income, who are able to go out of the way of convenience at the very least, and purchase directly from local farms.
This
I
sounds like this is an intentional decision to come here because you don't have lemons
Mhm.
and limes. Like they're
Yeah,
going to have to supplement somewhere else. So they're making a decision. Well, first I'm going to go to Argus and get this, and then else I can't get there, I'm going somewhere
yeah,
else. So this is a very intentional, like values driven decision to
yeah.
support this location and the farmers
Definitely.
that
I
support
think
it.
that it's a decision to come to Argus Farm Stop a lot. And I think our locations are very well chosen. I'll say that as well. And they're both in communities. Like Liberty location is on the west side. It's like right on the edge of downtown, where like there's plenty of people who are Ann Arborites who love to just walk to their local grocery store. And I mean, that's
Hmm.
fantastic. Um, it's a great opportunity for that. And so I think that that's a lot
Yeah.
of it as well. But there's definitely a lot of, I'm going to go to Argus Farm Stop. That's how I shop.
Hmm.
And on Packard, similar thing. We're more in like the student section over there, but like I think there's definitely a lot of people who love having a walkable grocery store for them. So I think that's a big part of it as well. Like there are some people who we are very convenient for, like we're literally in their community, and then there are some people who are looking to shop directly from us. I mean, yeah, we're never going to compete with like completely with like a Trader Joe's, a Whole Foods, a Meijer. You know, we want people to buy their produce from us, but like we're never going to have the full array of products that they're going to have in the one-stop shop. Um,
Do
but
you
we
feel
want to
like
fit
it's
that
an
as much.
experience? Do you feel like it's an experience shopping in your store? Like I
Absolutely.
a little bit like a trade like to me going to Trader Joe's feels like an event and
Yeah.
I make extra time and I love to just soak in the atmosphere. Is it I want to go see your place now. Like is it one of
Yeah.
those kind of stores and the where you've taken care of the environment and really thought
Yeah.
about how it looks and feels? Okay.
Yeah, and so I think so. We have a cafe as well, like talking about
Oh.
if 70% of our produce is, or our price is going back to our farmers. As wonderful as that is, and how that is ingrained in our mission, it can be difficult to continue to stay in the green and to stay in
Hmm.
business after over 10 years. So the
Yeah.
cafe is sort of how we have a couple things. It's a higher profit margin for us.
Hmm.
Uh, B, it's a community space. It's a way that we
Yeah.
can get people interacting somewhat like a farmer's market, where we like to say like, and this happens all the time, like Farmer Lucas from Woodfoot Pines, probably our biggest egg producer. Great guy. I love to talk to him all the time when he comes in. Uh, all the time. He's coming to get his coffee because you get one of the perks of for farmers when you drop off is you get a free drink from the cafe when you drop off. And
Nice.
that's, both to say thank you to the farmer as well as to create this interaction where it's like somebody is
Yeah.
checking out with eggs and Farmer Lucas is right there getting, a hot chocolate or something. He's like, hey, I grew those eggs. I raised
Yeah.
those eggs.
Yeah.
And they can have a conversation there. They can understand more
Yeah.
and have that community space. And that community space also, like, I've heard Argus Farm Stop sort of goes in the face of convenience, uber convenience of today's day and age. And at the same time, as my job of marketer and talking about how we can increase the customer experience and get more customers in the door, are always having conversations about how we become more convenient. Um,
Mhm.
so it's sort of this balance. And a farm stop is just a more convenient farmer's market in many ways.
Yeah.
So but I've heard one of our friends and producers say, quote, like, convenience kills community, and
Mm.
I think when you come to Argus Farm Stop, we do a really great job of customer service. I think that's one of our biggest marketing platforms is our customer
Mhm.
service. Um, so there's so many times I go into a grocery store and I feel like the people there don't like working there and they don't want to be there and they're not really
Yeah.
equipped with like great customer service. They
Yeah.
will often give you a very easy answer, and I often feel bad for them. And but at Argus Farm Stop, we do everything we can to keep our employees happy and have them be equipped to both have the
Mhm.
passion, and answer customers' questions effectively, handle complaints well. Like I try to get as many names for as many customers as I can because it makes all of my interactions so much easier. So like as I said earlier, like you come into Argus Farm Stop and what you see there is a direct representation of like Michigan agriculture. It's
Mm.
also a direct opportunity to connect with the employees, connect with the producers. Yeah, so I definitely see it as an experience, and it's very relaxing and I think humbling and just beautiful experience when you come into Argus Farm Stop. And you can just sort of just like take a second and uh, really soak it in if you'd like.
Yeah.
Um, and
Well,
sort of, yeah,
it's making me just pause and reflect on the importance of engineering the experience that a customer has in the store. And I'm thinking about when I go to the grocery store like a Meyer, I'm actually trying to do it as fast as possible. How can I
yeah,
zip through these, get the stuff and get out of there? Whereas when I want to go to a place like an Argus Farm Stop, I'm thinking of Trader Joe's. I have a feeling you're
hmm,
probably even better than that. But um, I actually want to stay. I want to linger in the space.
yeah,
And I'm just kind of sitting here thinking, why? Like, what is it that's making me want to stay in that kind of a place? And it is the ambiance, it is the customer service, the feeling you get from the team that they're so glad you're there. It is this feeling of all the other people shopping around me. I'm like looking at them and I'm like, they are like me. They get me.
yeah,
They're into this, right? There's a sense of identity. Like, this is
hmm,
what we do. I'm going to
yeah,
stay here a long time so I look like I belong, to show I belong, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and just even just soaking up the signs and like reading stuff, you feel like you're in a museum. It's,
yeah,
but yeah, so just kind of thinking, I'm reflecting about that, and as my
hmm,
listeners are listening to this, be thinking about, is part of your marketing or part of your success in attracting customers and getting them to linger? Because I think when people linger, they probably spend more money. Maybe not all the
hmm,
time, but how can you make it so that they want to stay in your space? They want to browse it. They want to put more things in their cart.
yeah,
And that is a whole element I haven't spent a lot of time talking about on this show, but what are we doing to engineer and architect the space around us so that it
yeah.
feels like a place people belong, there's community, and that's part of the experience too. So I'm glad you brought up that point. Thank you for doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
That goes into, I think, merchandising, and we do a really great job of
Yeah.
merchandising as well. There's a couple tips that really elevate, I think, our marketing. Um, Color blocking is a really good thing, just sort of
Mm.
having our colors be of different produce be, apparent and like having like a section of green, a section of red, a section of purple that can really draw the eye. And I think the number one thing that I try to tell people is this: I think before you start working in merchandising, this feels surprising, but once you start to think about it, it's not surprising at all. and that's people don't like buying things that are not abundant. You would much
Mm.
rather buy, we say, pile it high, watch it fly.
Watch it fly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I want every single bin that we have to look stocked.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to buy the last bunch of Hakurei turnips.
Mhm.
Everyone wants to buy like a fully stocked one.
Mhm.
So we do everything we can where even when in Michigan, when we're getting to February, when very few farmers are able to be harvesting anything, we make sure our products, whatever we have, is abundant.
Mhm.
Like on our
Yeah.
produce deck, if we don't have enough space, we do everything we can to fill out that space. And that's something that the consumer might not notice, but like if you work at Argus Farm Stop, you'll definitely notice. In February, we might have maybe 8 total producers on the produce deck. And we might even need to trim the sections where we'll put like black crates upside down so it like is less obvious on
Mm.
the end. We don't do that a lot. We're usually using the entire produce deck space. I would say over 90% of it is always being used. And whatever we have, if like and as we were talking about earlier, we got a lot of producers like in September when we have just everything, we have probably upwards of 20 producers on the produce deck, many different items. Nobody has anything more than a small basket, and it's
Mhm.
just like we'll have 4 different farms of bell peppers. We'll have all of this stuff going on. But like in the winter, we'll have, maybe our trumpet royales, our clamshell mushrooms will take up more like 3 feet, where in September, they're going to take up 3 inches.
Yeah.
And so changing that and having
Right.
when the customer comes in, what they're going to see is they see abundance.
So how are you finding new customers to come into Farm Stop?
Mhm.
Because I want my listeners to kind of hear the marketing principles that you're using on a
Yeah.
larger kind of enterprise here. What are the marketing channels that you use? How do you target these people? How are people finding out about you, that you exist?
Yeah. So the ways that we market, I think, word of mouth is fantastic. And that gets cultivated through our customer service. How do we have the people who
Mhm.
come in the store have a great experience, feel welcome, feel that experience? Then they will tell their friends about Argus Farm. They'll want to meet at Argus Farm Stop.
Mhm.
So besides that, we've got social media of Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is what we use mostly. I think that does a really good job, and our social media manager does a fantastic job of cultivating that experience of Argus Farm Stop and making Argus Farm Stop seem like a place that you want to go to. Making it seem fun, making it seem interesting, great photos, and
Mhm.
really relying on the produce and having that mission carry forward. We have a newsletter, email. We use Constant Contact ourselves.
Mhm.
That there's a lot of ways to segment your lists and your
Mhm.
contacts.
Mhm.
We used to do that kind of on a quarterly basis. It was probably ending up coming out more like 3 times a year. This year we're trying to get it out monthly, and I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of great benefits for that. We're always concerned about spamming people, but I think the thing is, like with Argus Farm Stop, people are often very excited to hear from us. Like we've got very high open rates. People enjoy engaging with Argus Farm Stop. And I think the people who would be really turned off to getting a monthly newsletter are probably the people who, might not be shopping from us very much anyway.
Yeah.
And also like there are so many messages for us to send as we could keep talking for hours and hours. Um, we're trying to tell the story of local produce. And
Yeah.
so like
And there's a lot of good stories.
yeah, and it changes monthly. Every month we're like right now, asparagus and ramps are in, and next month we might have a couple of those still left, but we're
Mhm.
going to start having strawberries, and we're only going to have them for a very small period of time. So,
Mhm.
getting our newsletter down to maybe more of like
Mhm.
something people want to read, and like our newsletters when they were coming out quarterly were pretty long, so they can become a little
Mhm.
bit shorter, a little more directly, I don't want to say call to action necessarily, but like directly relevant to what they're experiencing now.
How do they get on that? Do you just have a form
We've got a
on
farm
your
online
website?
as
Okay.
well as sign up sheets in the store. And
Okay.
those we've gotten into the 21st century where we have QR codes on them,
Yeah.
but still a lot of people like to write down their name, and so that can be
And
a little laborious. But
yeah.
inputting them. But
Yeah, I love that you're doing a monthly newsletter, and I challenge you when you get comfortable with that to maybe try
mhm,
even doing biweekly, because then you can tell two stories. I just wonder if it would bring in
yeah.
people again for another pull of the frequency lever, right? If it would cause someone
Hmm.
to say, "Oh, they have this in this week. I'm gonna make sure I
Yeah.
stop by." And um,
And we're
yeah.
also in building out our newsletter, we're building out a blog on our website. We've done a little bit of that in
Mm,
the past, and this is more so to really do good SEO and sort of have
hmm.
Argus Farm Stop show up when people are looking for local farms, looking for
Great idea.
local producers, looking for grocery stores in Ann Arbor, and sort of bring us up there. And it's also it does that as well as is when right now we're on a podcast talking for over an hour. We can have these really deep conversations, and that's what happens in my role of marketing a lot, where people are like, we need to tell customers about this, and I'm like, oh, we've got so little time to do so. This is a really deep
Hmm.
conversation. How do we do this? And so this blog can be this house for
Hmm.
in-depth conversations. And
Yeah.
we can also link to that. We can go to
I
that.
was going to say it's evergreen. It becomes an evergreen resource, and you can point to it in
Mhm.
future social media things. Hey, this is something about strawberries that we wrote last year, but it's still just as relevant. Or
Yeah.
create an email nurture sequence that you
Yeah.
then engineer them through a customer journey that everyone has heard these 7 messages, right, that are on the blog. Yeah, it's brilliant. Good idea.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
So we're building that out. So those are like, some higher level ones that now that we're really upping our marketing, we're trying to get into more of having, yeah, as you said, generating that customer experience, and just having places for people to go if they want to learn more about Argus Farm Stop. And it's not a problem for us for people to be engaging more.
Let's talk about the middle of the funnel. Well,
Uh,
actually, wait, do you do social media ads? I was going to ask if you do any meta ads to try
Not
and
yet,
get
but we're
people
probably going to get them up
experiment with
running
it.
this year. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did a lot of that when I worked in the music industry. And I would definitely be interested in doing that for our weekly flower subscription and maybe some of our cafe. And we're really looking at probably this week, next week, looking to kick off Google advertising as well.
Mm,
I think that would
okay.
be a great place for us, in terms of just being at the top of people's searches when they're looking for grocery stores,
Yeah.
farmers markets in Ann Arbor. Just having, I think a lot of what I've tried to bring to the marketing team at Argus Farm Stop, and sort of like I've never, like, we've got a lot of great artists on staff and a lot of great people with great messages, and I think what I've done a good job of doing is helping tie everything together and make things more cohesive.
Hmm.
Make it more cohesive and also boil it down to like simple ones, because we're talking about, like, yeah, people want to come into the store and experience it and hang around and whatnot, but like people also do have their lives. Like we have to understand that people, you really don't have that much time to pitch yourself. And so I try to have things be cohesive and consistent, like have
Hmm.
people hear the same message. Like when you think Argus Farm Stop, I want you to think local, fresh, seasonal.
Mm,
I want you to think those things. It's like
hmm.
there's probably somebody who's heard of Argus Farm Stop. And even going into that, I try to say every single time I talk about Argus Farm Stop is to laboriously say Argus Farm Stop, because
Hmm.
we've got a store in Ann Arbor called Arbor Farms, and I've heard so many people talk about the place I work as Argus Farms, and confusion of what we are and what we do. And I think the Farm Stop really emphasizes what we do and differentiates us. So
Mm,
yeah, trying to make it cohesive and trying to boil down those messages and keep those messages in all of our messages and all of our signage, all of our graphic design
mm.
on our website. Like, have, like, if you go to the bio, if you go to this, it's going to say these couple things.
Yeah,
That's what we
that's
want you
so
to understand.
good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Or in all of your social media and wherever you're putting your main messaging out, that these are the same 3 to 4 messages. You're beating that drum
Yeah.
over and over and over again. I love that. I need to do a better job of that. And anyone who's listening, I want you to just pause and think about that little principle and how you can apply that better to your current farm sales system, because it is an important one. What are you
Yeah.
going to stand on? What is that thing you want to be known for? Because it can be confusing
Yeah.
for the consumer.
And I think when you're the person who's doing it, you might get a little tired, might think it's not working, but like, yeah, having understanding what you do
Hmm.
and sort of being contained in that regard. Like, we've got a lot of different organizations that we work with, and there's a lot of great ways that Argus Farm Stop does work. And I think it's by we understand our mission. We are
Hmm.
here to grow the local food economy. It's very defined. So like I don't feel bad about certain decisions that we make because of our mission. I'm like, this is in servitude to the mission. And so
Yeah.
like when you have that defined and when you can just continue to say that and continue to do that and continue to uh, have that message be applied in different ways, then I think people get it, and they
Yeah.
understand what they can come to you for.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the middle of the funnel. So a
Mhm.
person finds out you exist, they start to dabble and they come in for the first time or the second time. What's kind of your gateway
Yeah.
into the
Um,
store, if you know, and then how do they mature as a buyer? Do they begin to shop is the goal every week? What does the super buyer look like for you in the ideal world?
I think like the ones that we have an example are often those ones, as we were discussing a little bit, who are like it's convenient for them. Those people will show up multiple times a week.
Okay.
We've got some people at the cafe who show up every day, pretty much. But at the market, they'll show up multiple times a week. Those baskets are probably a little bit smaller, but there are people who definitely come. I'll see them like once every 2 weeks, maybe even once a month, and they usually have very large baskets. Um, I think, yeah, what we would love for people to be doing and would love to build them towards is probably weekly or monthly shopping that involves a lot of produce, or it involves probably the produce that you're going to eat. um,
Yeah.
Maybe not all of it, but a good amount. Like if you're buying your produce, you're buying it from Argus Farm Stop, and then multiple of the products that you're really excited about. Our top two sellers at our Packard Market, surprisingly, are ice cream and coffee,
Mm.
in terms of literal items. And some of that we have so much data and it's can be a real pain to get through. It's like, for example, we have, as we were talking about, where we have different bins, we've got probably a substantial amount of items, SKUs that are kale, and so like when we put that in the data, no kale is ever going to be at the top, even if it was the top seller, because there's
There's
so
so
many
many of
other.
them.
So like trying to aggregate that, would probably make things
Yeah.
a little bit, but yeah, I think having really good we have really great bread from really great bread producers, um, coffee, milk and eggs, the things that people
Mhm.
need and want.
And the highly perishable things that require you to have to come
Yeah,
back more frequently, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think those can be a lot of the gateways in the door,
Hmm.
and the way we design our store sort of is to where, getting to the register, you're definitely walking by the produce deck and you're seeing that. And it's like, that's the emphasis. We're starting to do more with our merchandising of like having displays at the front of the store that tell a story and are like really seasonal and like, yeah, sort of this telling a story where it's like you see this and something is like graduation just happened. We had a lot of graduation displays. Um, and so people are able to engage with that in some way. And then there's always just what's called like a billboard look of the produce deck. It's unblocked. You can see it from almost any part of the store.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so having the merchandising, I think, really helps people understand the store as well. And
Yeah.
be suggested sales. We've changed it around multiple times for things that aren't working and testing things out. I think A and B testing, is a great thing for all marketing initiatives.
Yeah. Oh, I want to have you back. Or when I go visit you, I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm gonna ask you to talk to me about merchandising because I
Yeah.
would love to know like where do you even learn that? Like, is there a
Hmm.
class you take on that somewhere? Because that's just fascinating to me.
Hmm.
The whole science of where things go and how they're positioned. You don't have
Yep.
people paying you to put your product in a prime location like they do in some of or do you? Is that a part of your
We
gig
don't.
too?
We don't have
No?
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, where are you spending most of your advertising dollars in the funnel in terms of your time and your
Yeah.
resources? Is it more at the
Um,
top of the funnel building awareness, or is it like trying to feed
I would
offers to people that are
probably
already?
not awareness. Probably more further down where it's like keeping people engaged with the mission. I would say like
Mm.
as our newsletter has moved to monthly, definitely taking more time there. We spend a good amount of time. We do weekly emails for our produce boxes where people are finding out what's coming in their produce box. And that's pretty like we've gotten that down to a system. but it still takes a significant amount of time every week. And rechecking that. I would say, yeah, sort of middle of the funnel, like keeping people engaged. Signage takes a lot of time for us.
Mm,
'Cause that stuff can move around so quickly, and we've got a lot of different ways of signage. Signage is something that like I'd like a lot of our employees to sort of have a somewhat different look at, where it's like we have. I think a lot of people get asked a question more than 3 times, and an employee will ask me for a sign for it. And I think a lot
mm,
of signs don't get read. And I think if we have too much signage, the value of each one of it goes down. We've got some really great customer facing displays on our registers now that will show it's like a slideshow of images. That's been a fantastic resource. And so we use that to highlight our offerings, things people might not know about. Um, and yeah, different signage across all the locations. I think that takes a significant amount of time. And keeping that's another place where I've tried to like keep things more on brand, like keep a cohesive font, keep a cohesive colors, keep a cohesive style as well. And that sort of makes it to where like it goes beyond where it's like if you see that font, you see those colors, you see that, you think Argus Farm Stop as well.
yeah.
Somewhat
Just like
subliminal.
Trader Joe's has a very like a certain look in
Yeah.
terms of their font. I can picture one of their signs right now. And same thing at Zingerman's,
Mhm.
which is actually part of why it feels so artsy when you go in there because
Yeah.
it's a yeah, the copy is well written too. It's just different. It's not this standard one
Mhm.
bunch organic.
Yeah, yeah, there's a
Um,
character to it.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. What are some of the offers that you're using to get people to come back again and again? Like,
yeah,
do you run offers at all since you're kind of restricted by this price that you're paying
yeah.
the farmer? What does that look like?
We don't do much. I would like to do more.
So you can't decide, spend $150 and you'll get $10 in, I don't know,
We could definitely
coupon
decide that.
bucks or whatever.
We
Okay.
have we have the budget and ability to do that. I think that's something that as we're discussing a little bit at the beginning of this podcast, like operationally and more so into the forecasting and predicting and
Hmm.
making those and spending those dollars in those ways. That's something I would like to get into this year. Is sort of like maybe like a we have the capacity and technology to have like a rewards program. That could be cool, especially at least at our cafe.
Yeah.
We definitely have the budget and ability to,
Or at least to beta test it, right?
yeah,
For 3 months in the summer or whatever, and just see what you learn from us from doing it in the coffee shop and then
yeah,
decide
I,
we'll try it over here in the produce section or whatever. Okay. Your reflection there just made me think about the role of habits and rituals in a buyer's journey. And I have to tell you, I don't like it when I go into a grocery store and they've switched everything around, like
mhm,
where the whole like paper section or paper
yeah,
goods section is now over here and you're having to like reorient the map in your head, and I'm sure there's a
mhm,
merchandising reason for doing that,
yeah,
but I'm just kind of reflecting here, like one of the cool things about your model is that you have stock that's probably always there, that's kind of consistent, these brands that become my favorites. I know where to go find them, and it's built into my weekly or monthly pattern to go restock that, and I know exactly where to go to get it. But you also have this beautiful, like, rotating section over here. So you, as a designer of the space, have the freedom to say watermelons are here, and like to
yeah,
just change the look of the store. Or maybe, I don't know if you have flowers, but that
oh
the
yeah,
flowers change as the season goes on too, so that it does feel a little bit like a new experience in a controlled way
yeah,
in a small section of the store, but you don't change the whole like
mhm.
layout, right? There's still some security about I know where to find stuff and these things will always be there and I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
And
we got with our merchandising consultant, I think in this past last year, and we did a lot of changing over at our Packard market. And there was definitely moments where it's like we were changing the peanut butter or the jelly, and even me as an employee sometimes didn't know where it was, and customers ask that
yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
And I think the way you say that, it really piqued my interest in a couple ways of A, like the way we really are, like we look like a grocery store, but we really operate like a farmer's market. Like we don't even have like these, we've got a lot of great displays and they do stay there, but they're like so few of them are permanent. Like the flowers
Mhm.
are, they are in buckets and they go and they come in and out. And so it's like very transient. And so I think there's a lot of things that people either through the repetition of coming to Argus Farm Stop or just by virtue of our merchandising, they understand that these displays are going to change and also they like are engaged with them.
Yeah, they're
But
looking
if,
forward to it.
yeah, if you move the peanut butter, people
Yeah.
will, it's going to disrupt things, you know?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or an entire freezer section, which is now over
yeah,
here. You're like,
yeah.
what?
And I
Yeah.
think having a smaller store also helps with that, where it's like, I was imagining Meyer with the paper goods section being moved. I was like, oh, that'd be a 2 minute walk.
Yes. Sometimes and you've got
Yeah,
that big thing of toilet paper that you're trying to hold in your hand. Not cool to
yeah.
walk that long. Or you're that person that doesn't bring a cart because all you think you're gonna get is 2 gallons of milk, and then you know what happens. You end up wanting
Yep,
like, and then you're doing this in the store with your arms. Yeah.
yep,
Anyway, hey, we got to wrap this up. Let's
yep.
ask a final question. What are some of like your marketing breakthroughs? Any tips, final tips that you want to share? If you could come from a place of wisdom, I am the Yoda of marketing, all things marketing. Like, what are
Yeah.
some things that you've learned that you want to make sure people hear today?
I think the biggest thing that I try to tell people, especially when we're working with farms and people who are often, a couple who are trying to grow organically on their farm and trying to grow a market. I think especially with digital marketing, we've got so many big terms. SEO, like I barely even understand SEO and all these things, and thinking that we need to do all these things. You need to have this expertise, you need to have this ability, and it's like I think simplify and do multiple things simply is much better than
Mm,
trying to even do one thing expertly. And you're going to learn, like it's a journey. I'm really starting to view like the marketing initiatives that we do as like I don't need to do this one perfectly. We need to get this off the ground and start testing things and start moving things, like starting to see how these
mm,
things will evolve over years. So like have a website, have it do specific things well. Like I think it's much better to have a website that has 3 things that it does well than to have a website that has 10 things that, maybe some of those
hmm
pages are like coming soon, it's like
hmm
understand who you are and what you can do and send that message directly. I also try to like not tell people bad news that much. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you that we don't have this thing when I'm going to frame it in a way of a good positive thing. Um, so like have it be easy for people to find you. Like have an Instagram and do things on it. You don't have to be the expert of social media, but have like if somebody looks you up and they go there, they see posts, they can click on things, they can learn more about you. That's what I'm trying to build out with this blog and more of our website is like if people want to learn more about you, they can. Those things are available. Uh, like yeah, have a newsletter, have an email, have a way for people to get that, and do it sometimes.
hmm
And
Yeah.
you'll learn it, and uh, you don't need to do things expertly, and I don't think you need to
Yeah.
find somebody who's going to, um, absolutely revolutionize. Like I was
Mm.
learning more about Google advertisements, and I heard somebody really brilliantly say, it's like you 100% may reach a point where you need a social media expert and a social media team and things like that, and great for you when you do. But right here, right now, if you're starting off or you're a small farmer, like I would not go and immediately pay high dollar for the absolute best. I would like try like understand who you are and what you can do and finding those avenues.
Mm.
Yeah, I would recommend
Yeah.
website,
You're
social media, newsletter, and do them.
Yeah, you're speaking to the find you're good enough and that we don't have to achieve this perfection. I
And
also
we
liked
can, yeah,
how you earlier said that you spend more of your marketing time and dollars on taking care of the customers you already have. And
mm,
I feel like I want to lift that up as part of the wisdom in this episode too. Because those are the people that already love you, that are actually probably supporting the financial arm of your business anyway. And
yeah,
if we can do a good job of taking care of them, we build security in our business. And it's a whole
Yeah.
lot easier to do that once they're in the door than constantly finding people. But
Yeah, technically, from just of dollars and cents, it's much more expensive to get a new customer than it is
yeah,
to keep the one that you have.
yeah.
And I think that that's something that people in our customer service training as well is like if somebody comes and asks us for a product that we're out of, we have our answer is not we don't have it or we're out of it. It's like we've built out a lot of operations with Airtable, a project management software, where it's like we take special orders all the time. Where it's like those special orders will be like, I want you to hold a baguette for me every week. To hey, tell me the next time you get duck liver,
Yeah.
and we'll give you a call when we get it. And so it's like we have a place to do something with the concerns and things that are brought to us. Somebody wants this item, we'll put you in the special order form. We have something to do with it where it's not just a dead end.
Well, this has been so fun. We could keep
Yeah.
talking. Let's just book another flight to Colorado. Sound good?
That sounds great to me.
And go skiing.
Yeah.
Where can people go to learn more about Argus Farm Stop and what you're doing there if they want to be a part of this conference?
Best place to go would be www.argusfarmstop.com. And there you'll see a lot about our model, our growing practices, our farmers, our offerings, how to learn more with our external training. We do a monthly welcome webinar, which is 1 hour free. Just anybody can come and learn more about the model, how it works. And if you're interested in starting a farm stop, we have multiple other ways to be more hire engaged and more consulting and training through that website. You can also go to our social media, Argus Farm Stop. I would recommend the Instagram, really great Instagram there. And you can sign up for our newsletter on our website. That's where we'll be getting, as we discussed, a monthly newsletter coming out to you. Those would be the best place. And then obviously would love to see you in the store if you ever come down.
I was going to say, come down to Ann Arbor, everyone. We'll do a little.
It's a great place to just see what's going down.
Awesome. Well, it's been so fun seeing you again.
Yeah.
And we'll stay in touch. And I promise I'm going to come visit this summer. We always go to Zingerman's at some point, and we do some rafting on the river there. So
okay, great.
We'll make sure we stop by. And
there's definitely a time I'll be driving through Ohio this summer too. So I'll try and stop by.
Please do. Please do. We'd love to host you.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Corinna.
Today's show notes can be found at mydigitalfarmer.com/317. And if you liked today's episode, please go leave me a rating or a review on Apple Podcast. It really does help more people find out about the show. If you want to get onto my email list and learn all about how to do your marketing better for your farm, I have some really good free stuff to send your way. And you can do so by going to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. Don't forget, I'm now on Instagram at mydigitalfarmer. I show up there a few times a week with a marketing tip or a mindset coaching moment to help keep you on track in your business. I'd love to connect with you there. I'd also love to see you inside of Farm Marketing School. If you want to join me this summer, we're doing a lot of really fun things. I'm dropping a social media project into the school this summer, and that's something that's been sorely needed, and I'm really excited that that's now finally done. And just really love hanging out with people in there. So if you want to be a part of a great community and just be in the trenches working on your marketing this summer and have that support, someone you can go to and be like, what do I do? Please join us inside. You can learn more at mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. Thank you for joining me today. Have a wonderful week. And remember, I believe in you.